And we are recording.
Okay.
All right. So, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we'll get started in 5, 4. Welcome back, everyone. We are here today with, she has been known as the Queen of Email Marketing, and she is a marketing extraordinaire and the owner of Kinetics Media, which Kinetics Media, I will say this, has been in existence for over 20 years. So you have to be doing something right as a small business in order to survive that long. Or is it thrive that long? So, welcome to the show, Paula.
Hi, Michael. How are you?
I'm good. Seriously, you've been in business for over 20 years now, right?
That's right. Yes, we opened our doors on January 3rd, 2000.
Yeah. So, first tip: how the heck have you lasted for 20 years?
Stubbornness.
I could say something off color about this stubbornness, but we're gonna leave that one alone.
No, Michael, every business, large or small, has ups and downs. That's part of the journey you sign on for when you open a business.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm joking, but the reality is, and it's very germane to what we're all going through right now, is that a business is like a marriage. You make a commitment to enjoy the good times and hang on through the bad ones. And so in 2 decades, we've experienced quite a number of interruptions to our business. We started the business during the .com crash, when the bottom just fell out of everything internet. That's when I decided to open a business. Right before that happened, we've weathered the 2008 market crash in the U.S. and the fallout from that. We've had a fire underneath our office building that shut our business down unexpectedly, and we had to send all of our staff fleeing home because there was literally an electrical transformer on fire under our building, and figure out that kind of business interruption. We've had city strikes. There are always things that happen that are outside your control that impact your business. And one of the most important things you can have as a business owner is resilience and a commitment to, what do I do now, and taking action.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think the action part is probably very important, because a lot of people would have froze, right?
Yeah. I don't know that a lot of people would have frozen. I just know that that's not typically been my response.
So I know that recently you have gone in another direction, and you've turned off a number of video products, right?
Yeah. So what we've done, and this is not in response to the coronavirus, but over the last, I'm going to say, half a dozen years or so, I've been seeing a tide of change coming for the marketing industry, and definitely a tide of change coming for what businesses need when it comes to help. And I think, if anything, what's happening right now has shone a spotlight on something that was already an issue for businesses, and it's just made businesses, I think, a lot more aware of what some of those challenges are that are kind of lurking, they're lurking right beneath the surface. And so what we decided to do about a year ago was pivot our business and really focus on helping companies with digital transformation, and helping companies with finding, attracting, retaining a more sophisticated level of marketing leadership. One of the challenges that small businesses face is marketing experience is not inexpensive. It can be quite costly. A CMO salary in the city of Vancouver, you're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of $180,000 to $250,000 a year, and that doesn't include benefits and bonuses. So bringing that level of expertise onto your team as a small business owner is just out of the question, period, for most. And what ends up happening is that as small businesses, we either try to go it alone and do what we can and check the box, or we hire someone affordable. And affordable often means somebody very young, very eager, very tech savvy, with little or no business or leadership experience coming into it, often a recent graduate. And we hope for the best. We set them loose and we hope for the best. And in both cases, we're selling ourselves a little bit short.
Yeah, that's probably very true. I know that I've been in a few corporations in the marketing departments, and I was the assistant to the CMO, and the position is very entailing. And now, I'm going to turn this into a question. Does every business really need that level of position within their organization, or is it something that they could hire out?
Great question. So, I mean, first of all, not every business needs a full-time CMO. That's the reality. Often in a small business, you have a lot of things that need to get done that don't require a $200,000 a year payroll in order to make that happen. What tends to happen is that because it's not full-time, because I might only need somebody a couple of days a month to come in and take a look at what's happening and help me address what decisions need to be made and evaluate how programs are working, that it's really hard to get that kind of help. To give you a perfect example, one of my clients was looking at a podcasting initiative. They're a not-for-profit, and they wanted to reach out to their customer base with podcasting. And they had received a quote from a company that does that for corporations, but it was a high five-figure quote for that work. And the reality of what the organization needed was about 1/10 of what had been preferred by the agency. And so we were able to take a look at that and narrow down with the client, this is what you really need. And why not go back and ask them to come back to you with that? And so by working with the executive director, by working with the leadership of the marketing team there, we were able to help them go back to a vendor and restructure what they were asking for so that they were getting just what they needed. And that brought their estimate, their investment down from, well into the five figures to well under, it was actually under $5,000. So significant savings for that organization simply by restructuring their ask in that particular situation. Those are the kinds of things that happen with small businesses. So that's what they need, but they don't need it full time. A lot of businesses don't need it.
Mm-hmm. So, what does that mean for you and for Kinetics, since they don't need that full time? What does that mean for you guys?
That's actually the real reason that we decided to make the pivot, because what we saw happening was our clients struggling to lead their marketing organization. Mm-hmm. So they just didn't have the resources. And as an agency, there's typically a level of conflict of interest when you're providing services to a client. So if I'm selling a client on us doing a specific scope of services, it's not in the best interest of my company typically need to educate you on how to do those things for yourself, because what I can charge you to educate you is never going to make up for the loss of income of making myself redundant or making my agency redundant. And what I see happen with a lot of service-driven agencies is that there's always a conflict between selling what the customer needs and selling what the agency needs to sustain its business model. And there are a whole bunch of, it's a complicated conversation, but unfortunately, some of the, call them software as a service vendors, marketing automation tools, there are tons of them out there, have been encouraging agencies to give away strategy in order to get the service on the back end. And so strategy has become a sales tool rather than a consulting tool for a lot of agencies. And what happens then is the strategy is, what can we sell, not what do you need. And so it's a bit of a challenge, and it's a challenge for the agency. These are great people and they believe in what they do. It's just that their lens through which they're able to help the client is by necessity very restricted. And we were in the same boat. Our lens was to a degree restricted because our involvement with a client was through a specific lens, a specific channel of their marketing. And in order for that to happen and to function well, on the client side, there needs to be senior leadership that has a broad spectrum, that's able to provide the perspective that's missing, and that's able to work with the organizations to do the kind of what we need and what expertise we need. And so that's where we come in. We come into an organization on a fractional leadership perspective. Some of my clients, I'm working with them 1-2 days a week where we're absolutely focused on their business. Other clients, I'm coming alongside the business owner once a month and helping them understand what the reports are getting, that they're getting from their agencies, what those mean, helping them evaluate the proposals like we did with the nonprofit client and the podcast, and figure out their action plan for the coming month, for the coming quarter. I have clients that I work with to build their internal marketing team. So finding and retaining that really bright young person who's really affordable, but then providing that person with mentorship and guidance so that they have someone experienced they can call on to talk things through with, and they're able to make better decisions and better recommendations for the organization as a result. So there's lots of different things.
Mm-hmm. So we to come up to date with where business around the world is right now. I mean, this isn't just Vancouver that's shut down, and I know we've had many. Damn, this is Vancouver, and this isn't working the way we thought it should, and all. But this is
a global problem right now.
Global problem, and what are some of the best things that we can do right now as small businesses to keep things afloat, or if we're shut down, to be ready to open our doors the second they say go?
Yeah. So the answers really depend on the business and on the industry. We turn on the news and we see lots of bad news, right? Mm-hmm. But there is, in fact, a huge opportunity for a lot of businesses to restructure some of their divisions, to find new revenue channels, to find new ways of service delivery, find new ways of creating experiences that people can participate in. And so the first piece of it really is to step back and take a look at your business and answer. I mean, there are 3 questions that as a business owner, as a business leader, you need to answer right now. The first one is, how do I keep my doors open if this lasts another 2, 3, 4 months, right? So how do I deliver service? How do I sell product? How do I provide instruction, whatever it might be? How do I accomplish world where I'm isolated in my house and my clients are isolated in their homes and I'm not an essential service? And that's going to be different for different people. One of the things that we're seeing, trainers are going online and they are providing online courses. So they'll do an online yoga class, they'll do an online Zumba class, and their clients can log in. They make those logins available and take the class with them. I know one clinical counselor who is working with her clients in Zoom sessions, one-on-one private meetings, coming into the room and having a counseling session, and they've got a place they can go, and she has, and they're doing that over their home. Other retailers are jumping into e-commerce and figuring out ways, how do I deliver this product to you? What does that cost model look like? What do I need to have in place? So, I mean, it's really different. It just depends on what your restaurants are doing, curbside delivery. So order your food online and go pick it up at the curb. And we're seeing a lot more adoption of that. And well, let's face it, not every mom wants to cook every day. Most of us would like a day off once in a while and take out dinner for the family. So there's ways for almost every business. There are ways. Accent Inns is a great example in British Columbia. I mean, the hotel industry has been gutted, and the Accent Inn in Kamloops came up and said, "Hey, we've got special pricing for first responders. A lot of first responders don't want to go home at the end of the day and risk exposing their families, and so they are looking for somewhere that they can stay." A lot of hotels have said no. Accent Inn stepped up to the plate and said yes, and we're going to make it affordable for you, and they're uniquely structured to do that. That's now become a chain-wide initiative, and it's had multiple really great benefits for the organization. One, they're driving revenue right now. They're putting heads in beds, which is what hospitality companies need to do. And two, they got press, they got PR about it, goodwill, positive news, public relations about what they were doing and why it was a good thing and why it was safe and is safe. And that's each industry's got to find their own way to do that. Each business is got to find their own way to do that.
Right. So be creative, think out of the box, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Don't assume that you have to do exactly what you've always done. Sometimes you can. That's the easy and the straight path. And sometimes there's a completely new opportunity right around the corner. And we saw that in 2000. We saw it in 2008. We're going to see it again. And it's really exciting to think about what our world could look like in a year or 2 years when this is behind us and the innovation that's happening right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, any other great wisdom marketing
around that? Well, so that's really the first step, right? Because when we're going out from marketing perspective, we really need to understand the offer. Most of us already know who our customer is. We know who our tribe is. We have a pretty good sense of what they need. But what they need right now is a little bit different. So think about what they need now from you, how the problems that they have that you solve have changed, and what can you do to solve those problems the way that they're experiencing them right now. So that's your pivot. And then the next question is, how do I reach? How do I reach my customer base? Mm-hmm. How do I engage with people? How do I find new customers? So paid search, pay-per-click ads right now are on sale because everybody pulled their ad spend back. In a couple of weeks ago, we started to see ad spend getting pulled back. The hospitality industry, which is responsible for tons of ads, is not advertising right now because nobody's traveling. It's a waste of their budget. But that means that the auctions have become less competitive, so the cost has come down for a lot of advertising. So for some businesses, now's a great time to spend some money on ads, especially if you have a digital product delivery. If you have a retail store and you're not selling online, don't spend money on ads right now. Wait, either until you're able to decide to sell your product online, or until you can reopen your physical doors. But for a physical trainer who maybe specializes in things you can do at home, that's a great time right now to advertise courses. You've got a group of people that are not getting the exercise they're used to and are looking for alternatives. So that's the other thing, is how do I reach those people? How do I sell to them? And again, social media is critical right now. Building your tribe, staying communicated with your tribe. Email lists are really important right now. Paid search for some companies, not others. It really is. It's an online world, right? The billboard that you have on Granville Street in Vancouver is not getting the drive-by traffic it used to. The ads you had up in the train stations are not getting the attention that they used to. The bus backs, a lot of traditional ad streams not getting the attention. Mm-hmm. If you can afford to advertise on the news, maybe now's not a bad time to do that, where our news consumption in the country's gone up 40%. So it's thinking about, how do I reach people? How do I sell to them? How do I have those sales conversations? Because in order for business to happen, I need to connect with a prospect or a client. We need to have a conversation. We need to have some sort of an engagement. Even if you think e-commerce, I connect with you, you come to my website, you browse my product, you place an order. That transaction needs to happen. And so that question needs to be answered as well. And then the third question is, how do I raise my visibility, and how do I market? And it's a digital world right now. It is very, very much a digital world, and there are lots of opportunities for companies to have really great reach right now, to build your brand, all that stuff.
Right. That's, you're making perfect sense with everything, and we do know from history that those who grabbed the marketing challenge by the horns and ran with it came out on top on the other end of things.
Oh, absolutely. Harvard University, Harvard Business School did a research study after the 2008 crisis in the U.S. when the bottom fell out of their market. Mm-hmm. And in particular, one of the companies that they studied was Target. And coming out of that financial crisis, Target and other companies that followed a similar strategic pattern had actually increased their revenue. They had increased their share of the market, and they had increased their profit margin. Companies that didn't follow that same path typically lost market share to the ones that did. Their business shrunk overall, and their margin either was stagnant or slightly lower. So if you think about it, if you have two companies that are going into a period like the one we're in right now, and let's make it $1 million a year because it's easy math. If they're doing $1 million a year, mm-hmm. and they both have a 9% profit margin, so they're keeping $90,000 of that $1 million every year, it just goes into the bank after everything is paid. The companies that followed the same model as Target typically were increasing their market share and their revenue and their margins. So they might come out of a period like this at, say, 1.2 million, but their margin might have gone up to, let's call it 15% again, because it's easy math. So they've gone, now they're doing 150,000 in profit on the first million, mm-hmm. and another 30,000 in profit on the next 200,000. So their profits have gone from 90,000 to almost 200 in that period. Right. Where the company that doesn't follow that path, they might go down to 8%, and they may only have $800,000 and so now they've gone from 90 down to 60. They've seen a 30% drop in their retained earnings. And there were three things that were really critical in making the difference. The first one was that the companies that prospered held the line on staffing. So cut staff unless there was bloat. So if they identified bloat, then they would cut. But they didn't cut core staff. They retained their staff. The second thing that they did was they had a really obsessive focus on operational efficiency. And they did a few things from an operational efficiency perspective. It wasn't just like a one-hit wonder. They looked for places in their organization where productivity was bleeding or leaking, where money was leaking out, and they plugged those leaks. They also invested in capital assets that would make their team more productive. These were the companies that put in sales automation systems, marketing automation systems, upgraded factory equipment and plant equipment so that they could have more coming off the production line with the same input investment, these kinds of investments. And then the third thing that companies did, which was the most interesting, is they increased their marketing spend. The average was around 19%, but they increased their marketing spend. So at the same time they're doing all these other things, they actually upped their game in marketing. They placed more ads, they sent more emails, they created more content, they did more campaigns. They just did more. And all those three things together made a significant difference.
Okay, so that list of things, can you recap that list? And then I know you're really busy, so we'll let you go from there.
Sure.
Okay.
So from the Harvard Review, what the strategic plan coming out of a crisis or in a crisis is: hold the line on staffing, keep your staff to the best of your ability, your core staff. Invest in improving productivity with capital assets, whatever it is, that can make your existing people more productive. And then have a laser focus on the expense side of your balance sheet. Get rid of the fat. Cut things that are leaking money but aren't contributing to productivity. Be obsessive about it. And then finally, jump into and really embrace your marketing initiatives and budgets, and invest as much as you can in growing your market share and making sure that people know you're around.
All right. Thank you so much, Paula.
You are very welcome.
It's great. Always great speaking to you. So, we got to run from here in another segment on the way, and we will maybe talk to you later on.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.